All right, everybody, welcome to episode 351 on the Cultra Trail Running Podcast. My name is Josh Sprague, and I am here with Art and Anna, and I cannot wait to be their guest tonight.
From the belly of the Beast Coast, Glastonbury, Connecticut, this is the Cultra Trail Running Podcast. We talk about all the fun shit that happens on the trails that most normal people don't care about. The language we use is f***ing explicit and raw like the trails we run on. So don't listen with your kids! No kids. Cultra is brought to you by our Patreons and supporters, and we are 112% listener supported, and support is good.
All right, all right. Well, welcome everybody to the Cultra Trail Running Podcast. I'm your host, Art Byram, and I am joined tonight by a member of the Cultra crew, Anna G. How you doing,
there.
Anna?
I'm very good, thanks.
Hey, I like your background there.
It's a repeat background. I got to get a new one, but in honor of you, we've got our whaleback adventure photo here. So,
yeah, picture this. I guess that's probably a slide at Whaleback, right?
Yeah, we should give it a name, our own name.
That's the Whaleback slide right there. So I think that might have even been a potential avalanche situation. What do you think?
Perhaps
could have been serious stuff. So maybe we'll post a picture of that so people know what we're talking about.
Totally. Yep.
So, and we have a special guest, as he introduced himself in the beginning, Josh Sprague. Am I saying that right, Josh?
Sprague, but you can go. You can call me whatever. Yeah, Sprague, Sprague, Sprague. I've been called it all. I have one client that keeps calling me Jeff, and I've just been rolling with it. So you get somewhat close. I'm good.
Very good. Excellent. Well, before we kick it in, I just wanted to give a shout out to Big Scott Johnson, one of our Patreons out there, who did the what's called the Colchester half marathons. So double half marathons. So basically it's a half marathon, the Colchester half, which is held every year. Very difficult as far as road marathon is concerned. And we have a tradition of going out there and running the course once before the race and then running the race, or more than once. We've done it, I think, a couple times. I think Tony Bonanno, I think he ran it 4 times and then ran the course, or ran it 3 times and then the course. And even Ross came out and he ended up doing 112 miles there one year. In brutal weather. So I'm still recovering from a shoulder replacement, but getting close to running. I have 12 days to go as of the recording to get out and start running again. So I'm excited for that. But I was very pleased to see that that Big Scott Johnson went out there and and got it done. So, and he also brought his dog, Howard Johnson. So, which is just wonderful. So, and also his friend ran too. And now I'm like embarrassing the shit out of myself because I don't have her name in front of me. And it's like Crystal, I think. Shit. Sorry. I'm going to put that in the somewhere. I'm going to make up for this.
Little addendum in the end.
Yeah. But so, and lots of other people ran it too. I know Alex Brown, who's been on the show. I guess Alex has been on once. I've been out, done some adventures with him. He ran it. Tom the Destroyer starred Mark Kelly, Tony D. I think he might have gotten 12th place there, which is pretty good. Considering it's not an easy race and it can be pretty competitive at times. And lots of other people ran it too. Laz ran it, and I think Sandy Barbells, and just lots of people. It's kind of a converging of worlds out there. It's the first it's really one of the first races of the year where people start to come out, and it's most of the time you don't care so much because it's, you're just coming off the winter. So it's a road marathon where you actually have to run instead of traipse through snow and stuff like that. So always a good time there. So Anna, what have you been up to? You anything interesting?
Well, since I mostly go on the trails, I've been mostly hobbling along gutted post holes.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I don't really feel like running on the road, so I'm just kind of going along on the trails, and it's been beautiful. I was at Sleeping Giant yesterday. I was at East Rock today, and doing that same old activity in the snow. So
yeah, nice. And it was nice to spend. My wife Peggy and I came out and did a hike with you at Sleeping Giant too, and that was great.
Yeah, that was really fun.
So I went for a hike in out on the Schnipsit Trail in the Mesh in Glastonbury, kind of on the east side there, and out by the gun range, and was doing fine following somebody else's snowshoe tracks for a while, and then decided to go off trail and broke a trail up. I don't know, to this spot right where there's some cliffs in on the Schnipsit, and right at that point, just coming up the side of that mountain there was just, I didn't have snowshoes because I'm afraid of falling over with my shoulder, but I feel like I can post hole all right. So I went, and it started out like mid shin depth, crunching through a layer of crust. And then at times it just got deeper and got up to like a little over knee deep in a couple spots, which was quite a workout. Surprisingly, I found myself in zone 2, zone 3, not trying to go fast at all, just trying to make forward progress in this thing. And then finally, just before I got out, there was a blowdown over the trail. So I went to go around it, and I'm kind of fumbling through some of the brush. And I look up, and Eric Wester, who's a listener and a friend from Glastonbury, he's all of a sudden there too. So I didn't see anybody out there at all for the most part. And then all of a sudden there was Eric. So it was nice to see a friendly face out in the middle of the woods. And
that's great.
He caught me kind of swearing at myself, I think, as he walked up, as I was fumbling through the brambles there. So
Josh, I think you're in maybe Texas. Is that?
I'm in Texas. Yeah. I'm sitting here thinking about the
you
snow
don't
and
know what's
crap
going
you're
on.
going through. And meanwhile, I'm like, God, it was like 85 this weekend. I was sweating. That was about the only thing I was dodging was the sweat rolling off my face.
I mean, it's not just that there's snow. It's just that it's like the consistency is constantly changing. So it like really, it's kind of fun because you never know what it's going to be. It's hard, crunchy, or it's soft, or it's like it's raining right now. So who knows what's going to happen tomorrow. So you just have to adapt. And
Sure.
Yeah, we're frozen right now. Here we have probably a 1/4 inch ice on the ground.
Oh man.
My son hadn't he was going to get out his spikes and go for a run, and I said you can't really run in spikes on ice like this. It's just kind of like that's like driving on your car rims. You just you need a little bit you need some flexibility there. So I dug up some sheet metal screws, and we set up his shoes for us. I put screws in his shoes and showed him how to do that. And he went out, and it was a lot of fun,
Good on him.
Because otherwise you end up trashing, I think, your traction. So Josh, I guess you did you have any snow this year with that big storm that came through a couple of weeks ago?
Yeah, we had horrible storm for like 2.5 days. And no, it wasn't bad. I mean, we had a little bit of ice to where we looked outside. We're like, you know what? We'll just wait till like whatever 2 days from now, and we'll be able to. It'll melt off. And that was it. And then February hit, and it was summer, at least spring, and then now March is here, and it's summer. It's crazy. This winter has been one of the warmest that I can remember in Texas thus far. I mean, it was 87, I think, yesterday, which is crazy. And I like the warmth, but I get nervous when it's this warm in February and obviously now March, because it has a high probability to lean into a terribly hot summer. So we'll see. But yeah, I grew up in Kansas. I grew up with, snow and ice and muck and mud, and I grew up a country kid. So it was like, if it was icy out, you just had to get behind the wheel of the car and hope for the best that you get to school and just slide it around like you're in a hockey rink. But after living in Texas now since 2019. I can't say I missed that part. That part's really nice.
Gotcha. Hey, Josh, one thing I didn't do, I didn't really like give anybody an idea of who you are and kind of the things that you're into. And
Sure.
I wondered if you could just, and we'll get into all the details of it as we go through, but I wondered if you could just give us a short, succinct, kind of a quick clip of introduction.
Sure. Well, yeah, so yeah, my name's Josh, and I started Orange Mud 14 years ago, just to build a better backpack. Basically, I wanted to get something for mostly for road running at the time, and it really quickly translated to trails almost imminently. But I wanted a bottle-based hydration pack so I could just measure the amount of fluid that I'm drinking and easily refill it at an aid station. And then it kind of took off from there. So yeah, I've had this business for 14 years and really focused on endurance athletes more than anything else in both run and cycling. And that's on the Orange Mud side. Then I have Seven Clay. It's a custom apparel business. And then I have Anvil and Acre, which is a fractional CMO business. So it's been a wild ride. It turns out I like building businesses more than running them. So I've kind of, it took me a long time to figure that out, but now over the last few years, I've kind of hit my stride, and I like to build up the pieces and put in the work instructions and the teams. And then I try to not be as involved in the weeds because I found I'm not as good in that space. So yeah.
Gotcha. I have to like call time out here.
Yeah.
Fractional CMO, just like help me out. Like I probably know what that is.
Yeah.
I've probably done fractional CMOs like when I was in college or something.
Yeah.
But what are you talking about?
So
what are you talking about, Josh?
I never have really, I haven't really figured out exactly what to call it, but basically with Orange Mud, for example, I've spent an incredible amount of time. We sell mostly direct to consumer, and you spend an incredible amount of time refining the Facebook and the Instagram and the Amazon and the Google and the SEO and all these algorithms and whatever you want to call it. And so I spent a lot of time working on that lead to conversion, lead to close, right? And so it started as a consulting gig for a medical device company, and then it started in some defense work and some other spaces I used to work in, where I basically help people to refine their marketing strategy from how do you get the leads, and then how do you convert them. And it's just a space that I've always enjoyed. I started my career in sales and medical devices, and over the years, I've always been a guy that puts in the time to figure things out. So yeah, I finally realized, hey, this is kind of fun. Because again, I like building businesses, so it's fun to come into a business and fix their pipeline, and then I just kind of, I help to get it on autopilot as much as possible and help steer the ship a little bit. But I don't want to be in there running the day to day. I've got enough of that in my other businesses. So yeah, that's I call it fractional CMO. It's basically fractional chief marketing officer of
Gotcha.
The businesses. Okay. But yeah, I have teams behind me with doing all kinds of SEO and web and ads.
I thought it was cocaine, meth, and opioids.
Well, yeah, I mean, it could be. I mean, that's just my cover, so I can run. That's why we're on the border of Texas and Mexico. We'd run it across the border.
It works.
No one will know except for your listeners now. So
yeah. Special discount.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, we'll give you 10% off. Just buy a backpack to Orange Mud. You don't know what's going to come inside of it.
That's right. Oh, excellent. So, Josh, I'd like to kind of take things from the very beginning. Maybe if you could just tell us where you were born and, talk about your really early, like your early childhood. What was that?
Yeah.
What was that like?
Yeah, I was born in the country near Paxico, Kansas, which most people don't know of it. The town was 8 miles from me. It had 7 antique stores, a post office, and a bar. I think at one time 2 bars, or I know at one time 2 bars. So there's really not much there, but it was really neat place to be from. And I grew up basically hunting, fishing, playing around in the dirt. That was my MO. I always like one of the number one things my dad used to show when I started dating girls in high school is that he's like, hey, you want to see a funny picture? And he'd always pull out a picture of me naked when I was like 3, laying on a piece of plywood coated in mud. I'm like, thanks, Dad. That's it's embarrassing, still to this day. But I've just always been one to love to play in the dirt, whether it's my bike or running or just playing in the mud. So But yeah, even when I was young, I was a runner. Wasn't really a very good runner, but I seem to get a lot better at that as I've gotten older, and cycling was always a big portion of my jam, and still is. I love cycling more than anything, whether it's a motorbike or a gravel bike or a mountain bike or occasionally a road bike, but I don't really want to get killed. So, but yeah, it's all about adventure in the outdoors, exploring nature. It's always been my jam. I like the adventure side of it more than anything else.
Gotcha. Now, were your parents into the outdoors and things like that, or okay? And recreational outdoors, or more of a
no,
more of working in the outdoors?
Yeah, I mean, we had a lot of critters, So I mean, every day was like feeding pigs or mules or horses or dogs and chickens and geese and ducks and quail and.
So how big was your place?
Well, it was a small place, but I only grew up on 5 acres. But we had a lot, and I mean, like I raised pigs for 4-H, and we at one point I think we had like 70 or 80 pigs, and even before then. But in 4-H I'd run 2 to 4 at a time and raise them, but yeah, it's just a little hobby farm is all it really was. But
so your parents had a regular. What did they do, or what were they?
Yeah. My dad, he ran a sawmill for years, and my mom was a nurse, an RN. And just kind of fun country lifestyle. So yeah, I mean, even our vacations, like this weekend, for example, I took my daughter on my motorbike and we rode dirt for 69 miles is what the route ended up being. And growing up, that was just what we did. We just jump in the car and just go somewhere, just to check out a creek, a waterfall, whatever. I mean, it was just exploring the outdoors, always more rural than anything else. Hardly ever city stuff, but all over the Midwest was kind of our jam. And it was always just about finding some adventure and rolling with it and seeing what happens. And I still do that today.
Right on. Yeah. It sounds a lot of similarities here. So I grew up on a small farm. We had whatever, I guess we had maybe 500. We had rabbits, so we raised rabbits. We had chickens, goats, horses here and there, and initially my grandfather had cattle, just for a short period of time.
Sure.
And grew up working in the garden and working around, just working on the farm and thinking that was, that was just life, how it was. You didn't work out or do any sports or anything, because if you needed to build muscle, there's plenty of work to be done. You can split wood, or you can do whatever to to get by with that.
For sure.
And my mom was a nurse too, so
like we only had a wood stove. We didn't have electric heat or gas, and which is kind of foreign now. It's pretty rare you meet anybody like that. But the only way we heated our house was firewood. So I have cut. I have no idea how many cords of wood. And
right on,
I love it. I mean, every time I go back there, my dad still is like that. Now, when I moved out to go to college, he's like, "Hey, I just put in a propane heater in the house." I'm like, "That's nice, Dad. Why didn't you do central air like, all the other years I lived there? That would have been great."
Yes.
Probably couldn't afford it, I'm guessing, because he had, his kids to pay for. But yeah, it's something that I wonder the difference of many kids today that they miss out on. I mean, there's still obviously country kids that have those same experiences, but living down here like we do in Austin, it's a giant difference. And now we do have a ranch about an hour from here. I mean, it's 56 acres, a little bit bigger, but I go up there and I put our kids to work, and it's a hobby place also. We don't have any critters there aside from the ones in the wild, but we run feed programs and planting programs for birds and for deer, and we built out an 1.5 acre pond, and we, rather than buying fish, we did a 4-H style where we went and caught them all in local creeks and trapped them and recorded them, and then transported them to our place and recorded it, 226 and 24, 37 bluegill and 2 shiners, whatever. We spent a lot of time doing that. And so I still give them as much as I can of that side, but Otherwise, yeah, they're going to waste their time on iPads and phones and occasionally ride a bike or go for a run. So it's different.
Gotcha. Now, did when you so with the 4-H, did you actually have a 4-H club yourself, or?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's funny because my dad ran 4-H too. And we'd have other kids over, and I don't know, I was kind of horrified. I had because not everybody in the area that I was in, that was not the norm. So it was very much the Byram family was, they had goats, stay away, and they would just say he's got goats.
Yep.
So it was a big deal. But we'd invite kids, we'd have meetings, and I was splitting wood when I was really in, I must have been in diapers, not splitting wood myself, but through the years, just holding on to the, somebody would swing my dad would swing the splitting maul into a log, and then my job was to hold on to it while he pounded it through with the sledgehammer.
Nice.
And it would vibrate, and just it was brutal as a kid,
You still have all your fingers, so that's good, I assume.
But now you take all the skills from being on the farm, and you put that into the outdoors and trail running and the craft part of being in the mountains and things like that. And I feel like, hey, if I need to tie a splint, I can tie a bowline, I can tie a clove hitch, I can tie a sheep, I can tie a sheep shank, for God's sake. So and I can start a fire with flint and steel or whatever. And all that stuff that I kind of learned through home. I didn't even know what hiking was. Because we didn't hike. We would just go for a walk in the woods, and follow an animal trail somewhere,
Yeah. And that was definitely the way I grew up. And I still remember the first time I went hiking, because normally I just walk down into the woods and go fishing. I mean, I fished my pond, I fished all my neighbors' ponds. I mean, we were just surrounded by wildlife as far as you want to go. I mean, we used to go, and every time my buddies or cousins or whoever go over to my house, we just like, hey, let's go down to the creek down here to the east, and we just get in it and we walk it and see how far we could go. And we'd walk, I don't know, 3, 4, 5 miles. And we used to tube every river, and whether we had permission or not, we were kind of covering a lot of ground. But it's something that the first time I remember going hiking, we were in Colorado, and we went up. I think we went up the Manitou Incline, and and at the top there were these little some sort of little groundhog or ground squirrel, and we had some feed. I remember feeding them. Well, no, they were itty bitty little guys.
Oh, okay.
And I remember feeding them, and first off, it was kind of weird walking on a trail. Normally I'm just walking through the woods, walking through leaves, waiting to break your ankle every 2 seconds. But there we're on a trail, and then I had some food, and I remember feeding these little ground squirrels, and because a lot of people did it there, and once I ran out of food, the little ground squirrel bit me, and I remember thinking, cute little guy, but God, he's so mean. But it's just funny that I. And thinking back, I remember that distinctly only because it was really the first time I'd ever been on a trail. And I just thought, wow, this is kind of wild. I didn't really know people do that. But now trail running is hiking and trail running, like my kids, they grew up doing that.
Yeah.
But I think if you live in the city, that's your outlet. If you live in the country, that's definitely not it's not near as likely that that's what you do. And I believe the amount of trails that have been built over the years has likely, since I was a child, has astronomically changed, or I don't think it was I know it wasn't like that when I was growing up. So
I
have a question. Do you think you have an especially good sense of direction because of all the bushwhacking maybe that you did?
I definitely
that would seem
do.
to be a result of that, just orientation,
Yeah. Well, and so my favorite sport is adventure racing, and always has been. And I've been doing that since I was in my 20s. And we may not have always been the fastest team, but we generally are always in the top 10. And I've done over 100 of them, and a lot of it is because of navigation. And I mean, first off, I can read a map quite well, so that's important. But there's a lot of it that is just your ability to know north, south, east, west, and that'll help you to be faster with doing the orientation in races. And as a matter of fact, I just did one. I did a 12-hour race with my 14-year-old son. The first time I'd ever drug him through a 12-hour adventure race 2 weeks ago, and it was awesome. It was 11 hours. It took us 11 hours to finish, and just 11 hours of suffering in the bush, and between bike run and kayak, and all via map and compass. And it's just like growing up as a kid again. You know, you're not using hardly any trails, only maybe some trails as a highway piece to be able to get from point A to point B. But then you'll have to bushwhack in, and I still got scars all over my arms from that dang race. So yeah, growing up in a country kid. I think it teaches you for two reasons. One, most of the roads in the country are north, south, east, west. And even the cities, they go all crazy. Like back in the East Coast, for example, the roads back there do not make any sense. I don't know how them horses and buggies got along back in the day. I know in my rental car back in the days, traveling back there, I'm looking at freaking maps and trying to steer with my phone. I was in my medical device space during that period where we jumped from, paper maps and Expedia on a CD to Google Maps. But even so, I remember looking at maps thinking, why is it that the place I'm going is 3 miles over there, but it's going to take me 60 miles to get there because I got to go down this highway to cut over. East Coast is crazy like that. But
yeah, you got to get around Mount Washington, right?
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah. Now that is true. And a lot of ours were just trails. The roads were it was an animal path, just like when you walk through the woods, right? If you're walking through the woods, you have to follow not that you have to, but it's a lot easier to follow like a deer path or some kind of an animal path to find your way around, because they know the best way to go, and they're usually going to something that's interesting, like water, or to I don't know,
water, shelter, and they're generally going to run a ridge line, so there's going to be probably a pretty cool area, a cool viewpoint,
and now we pay them back. Hey, Anna, have you ever noticed when you're out on the trails, like if you see deer prints or other animal prints, they just love to, a lot of times I find they just love to follow the trails. You find that? Or
no, I mean, for sure. Well, I currently, since there's snow in the ground, it's deer poop. So like I just saw a bunch of that today, right? And it's totally on the trail. So
vegetarian diet right there for you. You don't even have to bring nutrition.
That's right.
Animals are lazy like humans.
That's good, people. And you can, that's the first that people might be listening thinking, what am I going to learn from Cultra? And you always learn some good stuff. So there you go. Some good, wholesome nutrition, vegetable, plant-based.
Yep. Probably some high
new direction for
C.
Orange Mud is that's the soul plan.
That's brown mud. So
we got brown mud, we got orange mud, we got green.
That's his nutrition company.
To be the green mud version, just blended up deer and rabbit poop.
Can I ask about the adventure racing, if that's okay? Like I'm just curious how that goes, and what's the division between you mentioned biking, running, and kayaking.
Sure.
What's the story with that? And is it like a set thing, no matter where you're doing it, or
Yes and no. So the essential adventure race is this. You almost always have 3 disciplines: run, bike, and kayak. You may have some other things, some rope work. It depends on how big the race may be, but generally in a 12 or 24-hour race, you're going to use a map and compass and you're going to have to plot UTM coordinates, basically coordinates onto a topographical map, and you are going to follow them through a series of sequences. So maybe they're going to say, okay, you need to get to 6 different locations, checkpoints, over the course of 15 miles. And you have to run to these. So you'll do that. You take off and you'll go and you'll run and you'll navigate via map and compass to each point. It's like a flag in the trees. You get up and you just punch it in your little punch card. And then you'll come back in. They're going to say, okay, well, here's another map. Now you need to plot these coordinates onto this map, and you need to bike for this 20, 30, 40 miles, whatever. And you go out and you'll bike. But a lot of times the trails will be stupid. So you'll bike a ways, but then you're like, oh, okay, we're going to bushwhack for half a mile on foot. And then you're going to come back to your bike and you're going to ride again. You're going to bushwhack and repeat. And then you're going to come in and then they're going to say, okay, like last weekend, they were like, all right, well, you're going to do this kayak section. And the wind was so dangerous, or it was not dangerous, but it was extremely inconvenient and could have left us stranded on the other side of the lake, which would have been unpleasant. And given I got my 14-year-old with me, I was like, you know what, dude? We're going to park the boats and we're going to run this whole lake instead. So we did. We made it like a half a mile around this bend and the wind was blowing us both sideways. And I saw some other two grown men struggling and I was like, you know what? We're not going to do this. So we just parked the boats and we ran the whole kayak leg where everybody else was kayaking to get to places in the lake to run to. But we didn't. We just ran the whole thing. And then we came back and then we had to do another kayak leg. On that one, I just got a rope and tied us together and I just thankfully do a lot of push-ups and I grinded it out and pulled them along. But and then we did that into the end and we had one more bike leg and then we were done. But the overall premise is it's going to be multi-sport and they likely will mix it up throughout a course of a race. So biking and running is normally the largest component. Running is probably the biggest component. But if you ever want something to take your brain off things, running is very much a mentally challenging sport more than anything, where you have to block out the pain and you've got to just find your sweet spot to get to, the next destination. But adventure racing is kind of neat because you have a whole bunch of pain points. You got things that are slashing your body from thorns and rocks and you name it. You're using a map and compass trying to figure out where you're going. You've got your teammates that you're racing with, which makes it fun. And then about the time you get sick of running, you've got to jump on your bike. And about the time you get sick of biking, you got to jump in a kayak. And about the time your back's about to blow up in a kayak, you have to run again. So it really is a thoroughly enjoyable sport. It's perfect if you're an endurance athlete. And they have like 6-hour races, which are a great entry point that anyone can do. And but even a 12-hour race is a great race. You just need to have somebody that can read a map and compass for a 12-hour, or it's going to be pretty tough on you. But normally, like a 6-hour adventure race, there's actually a lot back on the East Coast. Cool. You've always had a strong contingency back there that would be great for a lot of your ultra runners to just do something different to mix it up.
I gotta say, so I was going to ask Anna. Anna, have you heard of? I mean, I've definitely heard of adventure races like the Eco Challenge, I guess. And
exactly,
there's some bigger races. There was actually one on TV not too long ago, probably a year and a half ago or something, that was a major race, with some challenging terrain and some, so I'm trying to remember who was, maybe Corey Waltering was on it.
I think so. Yeah.
And
it was,
we had Corey on our show a while back.
Yeah, it was the original Eco Challenge. What Mark Burnett, he had filmed a newer version of the Eco Challenge. I don't remember what they called it. It may have been even something similar, but yeah, unfortunately, it's a discipline that is it takes an incredible amount of time, and the average age demographic is probably 50. I would say. Because you need to be a strong navigator. You need to be a strong biker, runner, kayaker. Once you do the multi-days, like the Eco Challenge and whatnot, there you need to be very proficient with rope work from not just like a descending. You need to be able to ascend ropes with, hardware. And that takes a different set of skills. You need backcountry safety. You need to maybe do Tyrolean traverses, which are a whole different animal. So the further you move up into the sport, it definitely jumps into a much smaller amount of people that are A, want to do it, and B, are prepared to do it, which is what has, I think, always slowed down the sport. And for me, I've raced 12-hour to multi-day races, and it's an incredible sport, but it just adds up. You think of how expensive trail running is. Well, sure. Let's say all of a sudden you need to have the best gear for run, bike, kayak, and rock climbing. And then in every race, they're like, well, this race, we don't want you to have this rock climbing gear. We want you to have this rock climbing gear. I'm like, cool.
Oh, so your mandatory
$500.
Mandatory equipment becomes very expensive.
Mandatory equipment is, they do it from safety and, standardization and whatnot. But it's a truly fantastic sport for the people that get burnt out of ultra running or endurance cycling. It really is it's something I never really get sick of. It's just I think everybody, if you're into endurance sports, you like to suffer. If you're out there running around and post-holing and all that snow and whatnot, you might as well go somewhere warm and go do something fun and in an adventure race and, go get uncomfortable. So,
gotcha. Huh.
Yeah, it's a good time.
I've talked to a few people who have done them, but it always seems to be like, I don't know, for some reason, I never really hear like, oh, there's one coming up that you can sign up for, or that's actually gotten me there. There was a guy, we do a 50-mile, almost a 50-mile run around Thanksgiving every year, the end to end with Schnips at Striders. And there's a guy there, Jeff, who was an adventure racer. And he, you go for a 12-hour run with somebody and all of a sudden you start to hear all the stories, right?
Yeah.
So he was a guy that would just, he would just go on with some of these stories like, yeah, we were trying to get this canoe through these giant waves and we were getting hypothermic and had to huddle together, and it was just like, it's really sounds pretty amazing, some of the some of the challenges with that.
Yeah,
I love how like it kind of ups the problem solving to the nth level with multiple problems to solve that are completely different from each other. If you were doing a long race, like maybe you would have the same things you were thinking about to problem solve, food or I don't know, pain or whatever. But like here you've got water, directions. I don't know. I haven't done one, but it just sounds really diverse in terms of of really advancing your problem solving skills, and probably has helped you, in your career, like with your engineering of things that you think will work well.
Oh, sure.
Right. So,
well, and in the teamwork side of it's awesome. And, and you have to, it used to always be you had to have a female. And now I think because the sport has, it's going okay, it's going strong, but I think as a result, there's not as many people into it. So there are a lot more solo or, all male or whatever categories and that they allow, but it didn't used to be like that. It used to be, you have to have at least one female on a team. And so back when I was racing a lot, I had about 12 of us that raced, and I would call like, hey, Barb, you want to go race in California this weekend? She's like, I can't. I'm like, oh, are you sure? Because I can really use your help. And I'd be like, hey, Karen, you want to race in California this weekend? And we just had our different girls that we'd have to get, because we always had to have at least one. And we would have gladly taken more than one, but getting one was a miracle every single time. And then even again to round up guys that would want to do it. And again, sometimes it was, can you afford it? When we did Primal Quest, it was like Eco Challenge. That was, I think each person spent roughly $10,000 between the entry fees and the bikes and the gear. And sure, we probably could have saved some money here and there, but when you're racing at that level, you want really good gear, because it's just like going for a 100-mile ultra run. You're not going to just take an Aunt Jemima bottle of syrup like they used to back in the day and throw some nutrition in there and hope for the best. You're going to probably buy a nice hydration pack to go enjoy it. And so it's the same thing, in that sport. But yeah, it's something that I'd encourage anybody to go out there and just try something different. Hit a 6-hour race and just get out there and see what you can do.
Yeah. Good now, and this is still because of the team aspect. I mean, orienteering's typically not a team sport, I don't think, right? I mean, I think that's done mostly individual. So is that really the difference? But and also it's different disciplines, I understand.
Well, so orienteering is in a 6-hour race, they normally make it kind of dumbed down to where it's like, if you kind of know you need to head this way, you're probably going to find it. But in most of these races, once you're 12-hour and up, you're orienteering. It may not be, sometimes it may not be as precise, but it's pretty dang precise. So I'm doing a one next month or this month in 3 weeks, a 24-hour race. And this guy's race, Paul, he's nuts. And his races are always extremely brutally hard. He'll hide some little checkpoint under some, by the corner of some rock or something. And you need to be pinpoint accurate to, you're running 3, 4, 5 miles between checkpoints sometimes, or maybe further. And once you get there, you need to be like, it's going to be at that corner of that tree line. It's a precise measurement. So see that's really what weeds people out. But if you go and jump into a local orienteering course, it really is a great exercise. Again, as a runner, orienteering events are awesome because that's all it is. It's just running. We have map and compass. And again, they have beginner courses that are way more friendly. And then the advanced courses, those guys they're really good. And it's really a totally different challenge. But yeah, it's orienteering 101. That's the foundation of it.
Gotcha. So where's this race that you're going to do then?
This one's in Lake Whitney. It's up out west of Dallas is where it's at.
Oh, okay.
And it's just a thorny, brutal race. But we'll be starting, I think, at like 8 p.m. on Friday night, and then we'll race until 8 p.m. the next night. So it'll be a lot of fun. Racing at night is again, an ultra, generally when you're racing at night, it's the grind miles. It's usually when you're walking. For most athletes, you're most mere mortals. There are a lot of it. You're probably walking or walk running. But in these adventure races, you're going full throttle, and it just stays that way. There's no naps or anything. And so in a 24-hour race, we're just going to be map and compass, hammering along and hoping our headlamps hold up. And it's all about planning for the backup plan. Where I think that's one of the biggest differences between an ultra. It's like we manage a blister in ultras, right? And you just need to manage food, and you're waiting for your pacer. And in these races, in a way, you have a pacer with you the whole time. Like when I was racing with my son, he was cramping at one point when we were 3 or 4 hours in, and I threw his backpack on my back, and that's okay. As he's part of my team, and so I ran with it for a while until he was good and gave back to him. But that's what's neat about the sport, where you do have a team to help get you there, but it really is. It's just on go, and you're just constantly managing, making sure you don't lose anything. Make sure you have mandatory gear. Make sure your team's okay. Are your teammates drinking and hydrating properly? And we all are required to carry safety gear, so we're all gear nerds and packing all kinds of cool stuff and whatever.
I can see Anna's. Wait a minute, Anna's getting ready to. You mentioned gear, so she's getting excited here.
Your life is gear, so I'm definitely looking forward to delving into that. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I got backpacks laying all over this place right now. As a matter of fact.
So you mentioned races in the East Coast. What are are there big races in the East Coast?
There are, I don't know a lot of them. I've never gone back east to race, but I know there's still a ton in the adventure race side. So all my adventure racing has always been like Texas and West. But I've always meant to go, even really just east of here, like Missouri, Arkansas has got a big adventure racing audience, but I know the Northeast is loaded with races. So if you go to USARA, it's United States Adventure Racing Association. They have, I believe, all the races, race calendar on there. But yeah, I know it's the area that held up better than the West. The West seemed to kind of dry up years ago, and it's one of the reasons why I kind of quit. I think I raced so many of them, I kind of got bored in a way. But years later, and then now I'm back. So yeah, I guess I got to head east.
Gotcha.
Come up there in the summer or something, maybe.
Yeah.
Snow.
Well, there's, I think you would find, if you haven't run the trails in the East, very different. Most people would, I think the opinion is that they're quite different than what you'll find in the West for the most part.
Oh, sure. Dirt, steep, rocky, Rudy. Yeah. It's you have gorgeous land back there. I need to get back east more.
Yeah. So
trees. We don't really have trees in the West. Even Texas. I get so friggin' tired of not having a dang tree over me. I mean, man, there's something to be said for trees, just to have some shade. I don't care if it's 100 degrees. If I have shade, it's different. But man, in Texas, like my daughter and I, when we did that big motorcycle ride this weekend, we were all in dirt, but there wasn't a lick of shade out there. It was just full sunshine. And, it was only 80 or 85 or whatever, but still that fiery orb, it's coming for us. So I got to find some trees.
I was going to say, I never wear sunscreen in the summer. I just, the forest is the sunscreen. So sorry. I agree.
Very good. So did you grow up with brothers or sisters or anything, or?
Yeah. Yeah. I call her my crazy sister. She works for me. She's actually getting ready to well, she's got a birthday. I won't say how old she is, but her birthday's, on Thursday this week. So I'm going to be partying with her this weekend. She actually works with us at Orange Mud. She's worked with me for, I think it's 8 or 9 years now, which has been really cool. I was just looking for somebody new years ago, and I was like, Sierra, would you come work for me? So it was pretty cool to con her into coming working for me. And she's not a runner. She's more just, happy-go-lucky, happy person all the time. But yeah, she's kind of jack of all trades. She actually works in 2 of our businesses, and she's awesome. So yeah, 5 years younger than me. 4.5 years.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. So you have one sister then.
Yep. That's it.
Okay. Oh, very good. Very good. And was she very athletic and stuff as well, or?
She was, but not, she wasn't in a lot of sports. My parents got divorced when we were in 7th or 8th grade. And so she went to the town of Topeka, Kansas, to the big city, to us country kids. And there it was like just big school. It's just a different animal. Where, I mean, you can only have one leg and you can still compete in sports when you go to schools like I did, because they'll take everybody, right? I mean, if you can't if you can't walk, that's okay. They'll be like, come on, you can go run a mile. It's fine. So it was different going to the big city, and probably changed that from her perspective. But yeah, she's always been one ready to go. She and I are 2 idiots when we go out. We like to always have fun wherever it is. Could be just tubing down the river, or goofing off and going to eat oysters and Peruvian food like we're doing this weekend.
Gotcha. So were you guys separated with the divorce then?
We were. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. That was the one bummer, but I don't know. I think it's one of them things sometimes it maybe helps in a way, I guess. But I was such a country kid. There was just like no exception. I'm like, I'm not moving to town. I'm staying with my dad in the country. And my mom wanted to go to town. So yeah, that was a bummer, because my sister and I were super close, and definitely changed things. But it was also the point where I was going off to high school, as one more year after they got divorced. So it was that's a pretty big dividing point in your life anyway, where you start to separate from your younger siblings, especially if they're not as close. But that being said, we started probably by my junior year, we were hanging out a bunch more, and then until I moved away to head out west, we hung out a lot. And she went to Texas, and it's one of the reasons we moved here. I got her to come work for us when we lived in Colorado. And she hated the cold, and my wife hated the cold. And it hit a point where I was down here in Texas on a wild pig hunting trip with my bow and arrow,
as one does.
Bike. Yeah.
And Anna and I were just going to go wild pig hunting the other day. But I couldn't, with my shoulder, I can't quite draw on them, So.
No, that's where you gotta get creative. But I built a backpack to carry my bow, and I biked like that trip 160 miles. And I called her in March of 2019, and I was like, hey, Texas is awesome. I have a sunburn. I've been biking, hunting. This has been incredible. We should move here. And before I got home, the house was packed, and my sister had already talked to me about moving back to Texas, because she's like, I just don't like Colorado. She didn't like the cold. And 3 months later, we moved into our new headquarters and new house.
Gotcha. Where were you in Colorado?
In Castle Rock. So we went from Castle Rock to Round Rock. Castle Rock, Colorado to Round Rock, Texas. But Castle Rock is basically it's just on the south end of Denver. And it was a gorgeous place. We just didn't like the ice and snow. We got spoiled.
They don't have it this year, so
yeah, this year's been crazy. It's been a weird winter, but it was. I mean, it was a great place, and when I lived there, we definitely appreciated it. Spent a lot of time, Leadville events, which I loved. The run and the bike, and just going out and riding the Front Range. When running the Front Range was incredible, but man, to have a nice, warm, dry day all the time.
Yeah. No, I mean, Colorado, when it's nice, it sure is nice, right?
Yeah, it was the ice that wore us out.
The ice, huh?
Yeah,
I thought
ice.
they didn't have ice there.
No,
I thought we
man,
had
that's
all the
what we heard.
ice.
Maybe it was just the 3.5 years or whatever it was we were there, but it seemed like it was just icy every freaking winter. We were like, my God, snow. I was cool with snow. Like when we first moved there, I was so excited. I went and bought a big old Surly Pugsley, big old fat bike, and I'm like, this is going to be awesome. And we bought a house on the trails. Like when we moved there, I drew a line on the map for the real estate agent, and I was like, she's like, what's this line? I'm like, well, these are all the acceptable areas we will live by simply because they're close to trails. And I said, we need to be like rideable distance to the trail, runnable distance.
Yeah.
And so we lived right on the cobblestone hidden mesa trails. And I get there, and the very first ride I go out, I'm riding my fat bike in like 8 inches of snow, and A, it was just hard. And then B, I about stabbed my eyeballs out. I don't even know how many times because I kept slipping on the ice that was under the snow and about stabbing my eyes out in the agaves. And it's the piece that people don't talk about is that fat biking in the snow is great when you have groomed trails. But if you're just cutting fresh snow, it's not very fun. And so, yeah, that was a short-lived
That's why they make
experience.
snowmobiles there.
That too, yeah. Yeah, but then like snowshoes, I bought them and I'm like, this is going to be awesome. And that was a neat adventure. I did enjoy the snowshoeing, but I think going out with dry tennis shoes is pretty cool too. And sunshine. So, it's just a funny part of getting older. You kind of change your perspective a little bit. You're like, if I could live in this environment, I don't have to be in that environment. I think I'd rather have this environment.
So, there you go.
Are you a swimmer? Because that's something that I kind of crave in the winter. Like,
yeah.
Well, I mean, I will go in the freezing cold water for a brief moment, but just the thought of being able to go to a lake in 87 degrees or whatever and swim would be amazing.
And you know what? It was one of the biggest drawbacks to Colorado. There's hardly any public water supply. You can go to the mountains and the water's always freezing cold in the summer, but there's not very many lakes there. And that's something that is incredible in Texas. We have, it's 8 minutes to the lake from my house. I've got numerous lakes around us, and we go out on the boat all the time. And the creek, when we first moved here, there's a 31-mile trail that goes around the lake, and which is the reason why we bought this house. And we went down to this low water bridge at the base of that trailhead. And when we first moved here, that's all my kids wanted to do. They didn't even want to go to our nice community pool that we had in our neighborhood. They just wanted to go to the creek and just play. And it's just such a cool spot. And again, that's hard to find in certain states. Kansas, water everywhere, and it's just prolific, as a matter of fact. And the adventures you can have there are incredible. And but California, when we lived there, same thing. You would be surprised how hard. Of course, there's the ocean, but there's from a freshwater, it's really hard to get on much. Most of it is no human contact. So over the years, I guess I needed to get back to my roots of the Kansas water and end up being in Texas. So it's a good thing.
That's weird, because when I think of Texas, I don't think water.
Yeah, there's a lot. Yeah.
My brother in Colorado, I think he goes to, I think it's called Rudeye Reservoir and Flaming Gorge. It's another place. And,
I don't know.
The Roaring Fork. But I know, it's I don't know. It's always, I guess you got to find you got to find what works for you. So you moved to Texas, and now let's talk about so with this, divorce and things like that growing up. Now, did that impact? I mean, obviously, like our childhood impacts who we are in a lot of ways. You've lived, as far as I've heard, a very entrepreneurial life. Where did that start from, or how did that come about? Like, what was the earliest hints that you felt, that influence in your life?
Sure. Yeah. I think that part's actually funny, because sometimes you don't realize things that you don't consider to be entrepreneurial when you're young. All of a sudden you look back and you're like, oh yeah, I guess I was kind of a business guy when I was young. So I used to sell, again, being a country kid, I just was always building stuff. And my dad running a sawmill, we always had wood around. Like he built our log cabin. Like we built our log guest cabin. We built our log barn and a log fort, 2-story double-decker fort in the woods. And I was always building things. Well, one day he taught me, or maybe I bought one and made it myself, I don't remember, but how to make a rubber band machine gun, or pistol actually. And then I turned it into a rubber band machine gun. And then I used to sell them in school, which is kind of funny that I used to sell guns in school. And this is when I was really young. You know,
I'm
but
all
these
for
are
that, right?
rubber band guns. So basically, like, I took the shape of a pistol, but then I put a clothespin on the back of it.
Yeah.
And then you just file down the end. So I take a jigsaw, which I think now, like, I would not allow my 14 and 12-year-old to use a jigsaw and a skill saw and grinders and everything. But I did. And it was like, all right, don't cut your finger off, Josh. And I just go in the garage and I start building. But
don't cut your whole finger off.
Yeah. And then I started figuring out, I'm like, okay, well, this can shoot one rubber band, but if I cut a whole bunch of notches in the top of the barrel and I run a string down, I can pull it up and shoot like 10 rubber bands at the same time. And so, and then I started building so many of them, I started selling them in school just for fun. And so I guess I started there.
The arms business.
Selling, I started in the arms business in school.
Okay, all right. That works.
Well, how much were they? Do you remember the cost?
No, I don't even know. Probably sold them for bubble gum more than anything, but I could be, pawned off with a soda or some bubble gum probably back then. But no, I did sell them for cash though. And but even like I still remember my first pig in 4-H. You don't do everything.
Well, you always remember. Everybody remembers her first pig, right?
Yeah. She was stubborn as a freaking mule too, or stubborn as a pig. But I taught her how to heel and sit and go walking around the ring and everything with me. And then you sell them at the auction to somebody that's going to eat them most likely. But what I tell you that I did though is the first one that I sold. I sold her at the 4-H fair, and I sold her for $460. And what was kind of neat is you have to keep a feed log, right? Like I bought her from my buddy Marvin Thomas, and my dad's buddy, and for like $5. And then I had to record all my feed and in the training log and everything. And so at the end of the year, I had my cost, and then I went and sold her for $460. I measured my P&L, and that spare money that I had, the $300 and probably $420 of spare money that I had, because she mostly ate scraps. I bought a go-kart with, and so there's those little things where I realized early on, if I spend time investing in something, then it can translate to something that can make me happy. And that's probably what everything has just continued to be to this day. I mean, if I wanted to be rich, I would have stayed in medical devices. The sporting goods, I assure you, in e-commerce is not a rich game. It's a lot harder to make $1 selling backpacks. The AOV is low, and the expenses of everything anymore has just gotten so high.
Yeah.
But I appreciate the asset that I gained from it. And that asset is I can take my kids. I go to my kids' soccer games. My son, I will be at his track meet tomorrow, and which I hope he literally set not just subtle brag on my son. He just set the school record at 5:27 mile at his first ever track meet last week.
Nice.
And so I can't wait for him to run again tomorrow. But that's the nice parts of being your own business owner is you have more family time, and I can just do whatever it is. If we need to go to soccer all weekend, we'll leave early on a Friday to go. So there's the asset growth that is really cool about, building these, pieces of life in your own business that allows, more family time and, more investments in the things that matter most, which is, friends and family.
Very good. So let's, if you wouldn't mind, I'm dying to hear the connection of all the dots. So you went from selling guns to selling, what was the, like when you were in high school, you probably like were a caddy or what did you do? You were okay.
Dude, Sam Walton. I tell you what, I worked at Walmart from the time I was 16 years old. So I worked for all my neighbors. I was the jack of all trades. And they'd call me, you need to paint your house, you need to build a deck, you need to do whatever, mow, trim, cut, whatever. I was the guy that would do whatever. And so I did that until I was like, I used to drive my riding lawnmower to my neighbors' houses, miles down the dirt roads to go to work, which is funny. but when I turned 16, I went to work at Walmart, and I tell you what, it's for all the things that Walmart may drive me crazy at times to this day. I worked there 4 years, 4.5 years, from high school and into college. And I tell you what, it really teaches you how to work with an incredibly diverse set of people. And I'm not talking ethnic, I'm just talking crazy, like loony people, mean people. I mean, you name it. You pick the diversity category, you dealt with it. And of course, a lot of great people, but it taught you a lot about growing up pretty quick when you're in high school and you've got some freaking crazy person throwing a frozen chicken at you because they're just off their rocker. I mean, but it was always an enjoyable experience. And you don't necessarily learn P&L working at Walmart, not at my minion level, but I went from being a cashier to being the assistant manager before I quit and went off to better things. But I still give mad props to Walmart as a giant foundation in my life, and a lot of it we still roll some of that into Orange Mud today, which is customers always right. I mean, they may not always be, but we under most circumstances will always err to whatever it is. Sometimes people take advantage, and it's the one thing that I saw there too. But that was something that I don't think a lot of people ever give credit to. The foundation of Walmart is that they put the customer first, which most retail to this day does not. But that was a Sam Walton way, and again, I think it largely is probably still there.
Gotcha. So from there, where'd you go after that?
I went to work at Goodyear at the manufacturing plant, and so yeah, I was working night shift and going to college during the day, and I wanted to be a wildlife biologist, and I am 12 credits short from having a degree in wildlife biology, and the only reason I switched, it was my mom was dating this guy. His brother was his PhD in wildlife biology, one of the top wildlife biologists in the country. And here I'm about finished while I'm working at Goodyear, at night shift, and going to school during the day, and still being a venture man every other minute of the day. And then I remember one day I asked him, I said, "Hey Terry, do you mind me asking you a question?" He said, "Yeah, what's that?" And I was like, "I know you're like one of the highest ranking wildlife biologists in the country, but yet you drive this old beat up Isuzu Trooper. Do you mind me asking how much you make in this role?" And I was like, for context, I only ask this because I'm trying to wrap my head around, is this something that I'm not going to get a PhD, maybe a master's. I was like, maybe I just want to understand what my career salary expectation will be to see if I can live the lifestyle I want to have. And he's like, "Yeah, I'll tell you, I make $55,000 a year." And I was like, "God dang, you got a PhD?" I'm like, it's going to take me 8 trillion years I'm like, my children's children are going to be paying off my student loan. So it's something that it altered my course. And once he told me that, it took a bit, but I ended up switching back. Long story short, I switched back to marketing, and I ended up getting a degree in marketing. And I just realized I'm just going to go into something in business. And then years later, I'm doing the fractional CMO side. So I'm tying in my marketing side, but I of course do that on the Orange Mud and Seven Clay side too. But yeah, I went into Goodyear, and then my real starting point, my uncle offered me a job running all of his technical troubleshooting operations in a video traffic management system company in the West, in Arizona. And I traveled all over, and it just kind of gave me a good footprint from a outside sales and travel perspective that led to manufacturing, because my uncle was cheap and he wouldn't pay me very much. No offense, Fred, but and yeah, that was 15 years in manufacturing, and then I just same thing. I mean, I loved it. It was a great career. In CNC machining, medical devices. I had 172 people working for me, and it was a great time. But I wanted to build up. I started Orange Mud with the idea that my wife one of us had to give up our high power job. She was an attorney, and I was a VP of this big device company. And once my son was born, I realized these kids are sick all the time. And I didn't know how each of us were going to work 100 hours a week and somehow also be a mom and a dad. So that's why I initially started Orange Mud. It was just for the plan was for her to run it, and as kind of like a hobby. And then, next thing you know, my daughter was born, and at that time, she definitely ran Orange Mud. And then I was like, well, hey, I think we can make this go if I quit my day job. And we only have two itty bitty little kids at home that a lot of mouths and a lot of money to feed. I'm like, I hope we can make this work. and
yeah.
So yeah, 2 years in, I quit my day job, and just it's been history ever since. Scary for many years there. But,
yeah. So what year did you start Orange Mud then?
2012. And then
wow, really?
Yeah, I think it was 2014 when I quit my day job and
wow. I would have thought it was much older than that.
No.
Oh,
14 years. I feel a lot older than that. I feel like I've been alive a lot longer than that for 14 years. But
do you remember like the moment that you said, "Oh, this is the business that I'm going to"? I didn't totally follow. Did your wife stop working? And
she did. Yeah. So she stopped first.
Yeah. So was there a moment when you said, packs and water bottle things and all that? Was there a moment where you said, that's the thing that I want to start? Do you remember that moment?
Well, what it was is all the years of adventure racing, I spent staring at my teammates' backs. And so I saw how a back moves. It's weird to say it like that, but when you think of a human body, you really just isolate it into the compartments that it is. And your back is basically divided in three areas, and your cervical area doesn't move very much. And so that was my starting point with, I really just wanted something for me. That's it. When I started, I told my wife, I say, we're going to start this company. It's going to cost probably $50,000. Worst case, we're going to have two backpacks worth $25,000 each, perfectly designed for us. And that's been the truth to this day. Every time I launch a new product, I of course would hope people would buy them, right? I mean, it's a lifestyle brand. I want to make people happy with things that I come up with, but at the same time, I design it first for me. And I think, everybody always talks about, it's about everybody else. I'm like, no, life is about making you happy, right? And so that's like one of my central points, is that I want to design something that makes people like, dude, you know what? I ran my first ultra in your pack, and it was awesome because this, and that's what makes me happy. But again, I know how picky I am, and I know I don't want people to be like, your product sucks. So I do everything first for me, and then I take what I've learned over the years and I modify it to fit other people. So that's how it all started, is that I wanted to make my running be more enjoyable. I hated waist packs. I hated handhelds. And a lot of the backpacks are too big, too bulky, and flopped around. And so that's why I knew I was going to start with that. But I'll be honest, I had no idea what my second product was going to be. I didn't. And that was shaped by the clients, customers really helped to shape that. Our ambassador team really helped to shape that. And different friends of mine really helped to shape that. And then the second product that I made was my seat cover, the transition wrap. And I was changing at a trailhead, and I was naked, changing from my business clothes into my bike kit to go mountain bike up this hill like we'd done a million times in Cleveland National Forest. And all of a sudden I see this little girl, and it was like 200-300 yards away, but still I see her pointing at me. And I was like, oh my God. And then all of a sudden somebody moved in over there. I didn't know it. And I thought, I can't do that. So I wanted to build a product that allow you to change in public without having to go to jail and getting in trouble. And
that's
I wanted
a plus, right?
It is.
That's a benefit. I think that's not just a feeture. I think that's a benefit. Right?
It really is.
Not going to jail.
Like when that happened, my daughter was like, I don't know, 1 month old. And I just remember like thinking, she's going to tell her mom's going to tell the cops. Next thing you know, I'm going to be a registered sexual offender, and I can't even drop my kids off at school. That's like what went through my head in the first 12 seconds when I saw her pointing at me. So that's why I got to start a business.
I need a new product.
I did. So that's how I built that product. I had already taken a shoe bag and sewn it to a towel, because often after biking, I was bloody and dirty and sweaty, and I didn't want to get my seat dirty. But then I went home and I crafted a belt into it so I could change securely. And that's really what put us on the map. So again, a lot of these, they all start with what makes Josh happy, and then let's see if it's something that other people like.
So your first pack, was that like the Ninja, I think?
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, the Hydrofiber. Yeah, the bottle-based pack. Yep.
Yeah.
And it's still super popular to this day.
Yeah.
It started in, like, we launched it at the Soma Half Ironman, and then the full Tempe Ironman the next month, October of 2012 and November of 2012. almost everybody buying it, I was asking them, I'm like, what is it you do? And they're like, oh, I'd like to run trails. And I was like, all right, cool. I was surprised that at a Ironman event, all these people were buying, this, but ultimately that ended up being the kickoff point, and where, people were like, yeah, I don't like to carry a lot of stuff when I'm running trails, but I want to be hands-free. And a lot of times there's these aid stations and trails and ultra races that I can still refuel at. And I thought, wow, you're running a long ways to be able to carry 24 ounces of fluid. But there's plenty of ultras that have a high amount of aid stations. So it started there, but then they're like, hey, we need fuel. So I need pockets. And next thing you know, we'd make pockets and have the chest packs. And then as a mountain biker, I wanted bladder packs, and it just kept going from there.
Now, I think like one of the things that, and yeah, please correct me if I get this wrong, but the pack sits very high up, right?
Yeah.
Compared to other packs. I mean, it's not, so I guess there's a lot of benefits to that. And, maybe, I don't know, maybe you could just kind of talk about that to give people a visual of the pack. For some reason, I was thinking that the bottles were in the back. Aren't they in the back?
They are. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we have bottles in the back. We have bladders in the back. We have flask up front. We have a whole bunch of different versions now, but at the time my logic was, if you think back 12 or 14 years ago, the bottles were in the front. And my argument to that is that you don't go hiking with your backpack on your chest. It's designed to go in the back because, that's where the weight needs to be carried. And when you have a bottle back there, it moves with your body. The fluid moves with your body. Where you put bottles up front, as you're moving left and right, the water is going to be going away from you when you're going the opposite direction. So you feel that movement much more, which is why the bottle-based packs up front, I think, have finally pretty much died off. It's all flask now, which you can constrain better as a body of water. But yeah, with having the bottles in the back, having them high, it keeps it really stable. And then the other premise with all of our packs is that, so we anchor in the front of your shoulders and then we wrap around to the back. Anything up front, it's not as important to have to ratchet it down. And the reason for that is that when you go from the front of your shoulders and you wrap around to the back of the pack as the main constraint mechanism, when you breathe, your chest, it expands and contracts, right? But from the front of your shoulders to the back, it doesn't. There's no change, which is why we've always built our anchor points like that, which we've been very different. I'm glad other brands haven't figured it out to this day, but I don't understand why. But everything that we do is all about stability more than anything. I hate to say anything, but it's quality, stability, and access to your essentials. But it really stabilizing fluids always been my focal point. And we've been beat up on it over the years. You look in the magazines and, they generally always cater to the giant brands, but occasionally us minion brands will get in there and then they'll be like, well, this orange bud pack's neat, but it's kind of heavy. I'm like, okay, so my pack weighs 50 grams more. I can hook up a loogie about at that weight. It weighs 50 grams more, but I can stabilize 4 pounds of fluid, rock solid.
It's interesting, like the concept. I never thought about it that way, but now that you mention that, you picture a like in sword design, right? The pommel, I guess they call it, of the sword, the bottom of the handle. One of the design changes that they made in developing the sword was to make that heavier, and that helps the sword swing better.
Sure.
As kind of a counterbalance. So I think having that on your back has gotta, I don't know. It kind of, like you said, it kind of follows you. For me, it hasn't worked up until now, just because I've had a broken shoulder and just did not have the range. I could not put my hand behind my head until recently.
Yeah, sure.
Go ahead, please.
I was just going to say, do you, like, kind of related to what Art was just saying, are there certain backpacks that you think work best for certain body types, like bigger, thinner?
Sure.
What's the range of your backpacks versus like what types of bodies there are?
Yeah, so our single bottle hydroquiver truly fits anybody. I mean, it can fit a 5-year-old kid and it can fit somebody that weighs 400 pounds. And it's just so versatile because it's so tiny with the way it mounts in your body. It's super easy. Our double barrel pack, which is our 2-bottle pack, for any larger runners, more bigger body runners, that's always been a super popular item. And I think there it's because a lot of people, it goes up to 54-inch chest, which is pretty big. And I mean, it's pretty rare. I don't know if I've ever had anybody max that out, but that one is always been the most popular one in the larger frame runners. And then the rest of our packs, man, they're all pretty versatile. They work great with male and female. We have one of the compliments we get a lot are on shorter runners, because our packs are so short that almost all of them can run in them without having their butts rub on the top of them, which it's just things you don't necessarily think of. But if you're maybe 5'3" and under, there's plenty of packs on the market that'll rub the top of your butt when you're running, and you get a friggin' chaff mark on the top of your butt cheek.
No one likes that, right?
No, that's a weird place to get a chaff mark, but we don't have that problem. So yeah, we've covered everybody from head to toe, and we even offer free modifications if you're too big or you're too tiny for something. We actually modify them at our shop, and we don't charge for that or anything either. So yeah, we can fit anybody for sure.
Wow, I had heard. Now I'm gonna put you on the spot here. Do you know a guy named Jeremy, who is a mailman, who does some running from? He ran in Oregon. He ran at the Cascade Lakes relay. He did a solo, or it's a relay where it's like a Ragnar type event, right? Where you have a group of 20 people who each run legs of this race. And I think maybe it was like 260 miles or something like that.
Sure.
And I think he did the whole, I know he did the whole thing himself.
Oh, geez.
And he had a orange mud pack on. It wasn't like a bottle pack, as I recall. It was more like a traditional looking pack, but it was the color and the design of it was really neat. So maybe do you know what?
Yeah, it's probably our adventure pack, probably a 12-liter adventure pack, probably in brown.
Yeah. That sounds like
it. I think this was a while back, right? Like quite a while back. I think.
No, this was probably 4 years ago. That's a while back.
I was going to say, it did ring a bell. But yeah, we've done like our 12-liter and 20-liter packs. I built actually in the snow. I built them when we lived in Colorado because the weather was so freaking problematic that it could be 90 and 20 in the same 4-hour stretch, and that's why I built those packs. But those have done really well in that ultra endurance category, the 100-mile plus category. Plus just adventure racing. I mean, that's my son and I just use the 12 liters, and my team will be using them 24-hour coming up. And but yeah, it was just I needed something to carry more gear. That's how I built those. And the 12-liter actually happened by accident because I screwed up in my math and I didn't realize it until after I built the prototype. And I'm like, man, this thing's awesome. And I started measuring it, and I'm like, oh man, this is only 12 liters. So I took a pair of scissors and cut the top off. It was a roll top at the time. And I measured it. I'm like, yeah, it's 12 liters. This is perfect. And we're going to launch this one too. So it's very good. We build all kinds of fun stuff. I love it.
Go ahead, Dan.
Oh, no, that's okay. I was just going to say, are you constantly thinking of the next product, or are you, is it phasic? Sometimes you're actively looking for a new product, and sometimes you think, oh, we're good with what we have,
Yeah, one thing that I've been very different because I didn't work in specialty retail, which has seasons, right? So my approach has been the more BMW, Toyota, Honda approach, where it's like, if you build something good, don't mess with it. Like, there's no reason for me to launch version 5.0 just because spring is coming next year. Like, I don't think like that. I don't upgrade a version until I think of something to make it better. And so, like on my endurance pack, we're on version 4 now, and version 4 was like a extremely minuscule change, but it was a benefit to it. But the existing lot was out, and I thought, all right, well, I'll raise this one pocket by 3 inches, and it does make a difference. But we try to run things for quite some time, and I don't look at things as I need to have 5 packs that all do the exact same thing. I want to have a pack that does one thing and it does it really well. Or maybe it's an all-rounder and that's really cool. But I try not to just make something just to make something. So like right now, for example, we like I have well, it's going to be shipping in the next 30 days, is our new seatbelt protector. So we've made the seat cover forever. So you finish a run, you're all sweaty and you save your seat. But I have a magnetic seatbelt protector. It's really cool, actually. I actually even have it right here. You can see it. It's
oh, that's awesome.
It's all magnets. So I didn't want any Velcro, just like a lot of my products. I try to minimize it.
I sweat more than anybody. And I get in my seat and I put the towel, I have a towel with a hole in it that sits around the headrest. And then I have to hold my thumb underneath my seatbelt as I drive, so that this thing doesn't because it would be saturated.
Exactly. Well, that's why this one here I meant to make for years, but I kind of dinked around with it off and on. I couldn't make it where I wanted it, but last year I got busy on it, and it's simple, but that's the cool part about it. It's just like our transition wrap. It's a simple product, but it works really well, and it's easy to wash, easy to take up, and it has 2 sizes. But so yeah, I really sometimes I get distracted with my 3 companies now, and but it's not that I don't want to innovate, but again, I don't want to be wasteful, and I don't want to just make something. So with this, I'm really excited about it. I only make things if I'm really passionate about it. And so like that one's coming out. I just launched our running belt. So I started Orange Mud because I despise running belts and I despise handhelds. Now I have 2 soft flask handhelds, a hard body handheld, and then I just launched my waist belt last year. And I actually love my waist belt. I still hate handhelds. I think they're stupid, but I know a lot of people like them. I personally do not like to run with weights. I just think that's weird. If I want to lift weights, I'm gonna go lift weights. But my waist belt, I absolutely love. And I worked on it for like, I don't know, 8 years. I just couldn't make it good. I thought it was a dead category. I didn't think I could make something good there. But our running belt's awesome. And then I get requests a lot for mountain bike waist packs. So I've been working on that, and it's awesome. It's sitting around here somewhere, and it's awesome looking. And it works okay, but if you put fluid in it, it sucks. And I don't think I can fix that. I think that's just there's certain things that just aren't meant to be, not awesome anyway. So you have to redefine what is awesome. So it's development is weird, but I'll go out and on a bike ride or run, and that's when I always come up with my ideas, and I punch them in Evernote, and I keep a list. I have, God only knows how many, probably 200 design ideas that I keep. But I just wait until there's a reason to make something new. So yeah, I know it's kind of a weird answer, but I don't have these plans like a lot of, I don't ever say like, wow, in 2027 I'm going to launch these things. It's more of like, hey, I really want this pack because I finally found out something I really like about, this concept or whatever. And then I'll go full throttle at it and make it.
Yeah, it seems like there's more interest right now in waist products over a vest, especially in the hotter areas, or for the situations where, with some of the climate change issues, lots of times we're having to carry more water than we normally would because some of the water sources just aren't there. So having a 2-liter bladder in the back, or, sometimes just isn't enough, even if you have a water filter, because you're not going to find anything, and you can fill the bottles in the front, but then having, maybe having a waist pack or something like that would give you that extra little bit of, I don't know.
Yeah, just a little extra something to go.
Yeah. I also did put on a waist pack one time, and had the water all set, and then just because of how elastic it is, it ended up having the water just squirt all over me.
Yeah, it's brutal.
It was and it's not a good look, I mean,
right. No, yeah, that's right. Ours is awesome. I got a locking bite valve. So a locking soft flask bite valve that goes inside of it. It's 100% constrained. You won't feel any movement. It is bomb proof. It is so cool. It's awesome.
I'm very intrigued. I not a fan of belts like you apparently were not a fan. I'm very intrigued by your description of yours. Do you like, how does sweating factor into your design? I'm curious because I can see, like Art mentioned, like they're very high. Do you, I don't know where people sweat the most on their backs. I'm kind of curious. Is it more like the fact that they're high, is that good? Because if you sweat a lot and you're in the middle, like it's not covered with material, or have you looked, I'm sure you've looked into this or thought about
big
it.
Time. Yeah. I've always been, I'm a hot blooded guy. And so that's always been a big focal point. And when I first started making our packs, I didn't make them short to mitigate heat. Well, I did. I minimized every design that I've done like my endurance pack, which is our top selling pack. It's our 2-liter bladder pack. I took that bladder, I filled it up, and because when it's out of fluid, it's actually bigger. But once you fill it up, it actually shrinks. It goes outward. But I put it on the table, and I took some poster board and a paper or a pencil, and I drew out a pattern, and that's how I literally started that pack, because I wanted to keep it as small as possible on my back. But what I ended up realizing, and it took me years to figure this out, I was like by a campfire or something one night. It was cold, and I remember crossing my arms, and I felt just below your chest where you kind of put your hands when you're crossing your arms. I noticed how I could feel the warmth of my palms really, really well. And I started realizing there's like these thermal bands here right below your chest. I don't know the physiology. I never honestly looked, but there's these thermal bands. If you just wrap some fabric around the center of your chest, you warm up, right? But up top, you don't have that. On your back, you don't have that. So it was honestly a little bit of dumb luck is all I really got with that. But it makes a giant difference with heat mitigation by having a small footprint. Now, like on my bottle-based packs, I put in heat channels through the back of them. I spent a lot of time, an incredible amount of time focusing on closed cell and open cell foams, and I even experimented with them over the years. But picking the right the foam and building a channel, and then of course the right spacer mesh that is releasing all that material and making sure that the foam that I had would still not be trapping moisture and heat on your body. So even like in a lot of our bladder-based packs, we don't use any foam in the back. Barely any at all, if any, just for that reason, to get heat off. And that heat is important, whether it's 40 degrees. I don't want you sweating if you don't have to be. I mean, if you can just change just enough to where at 40 you can run and not sweat and be perfect, it's just that much safer and that much more convenient if if you're not getting a little bit of sweat and getting cold going. So yeah, I've spent an incredible amount of time making sure heat and moisture releases is top of mind.
Have you been able to come up with something that allows people to have the pack touch the skin directly? Like I know people who like to run with vests without a shirt. And
because that all comes down to movement.
Lots of times it's just brutal.
We've had, gobs of people run incredible distance shirtless with our packs, and that really just comes down to movement. I mean, the fabric is really important, of course, but if your pack is not moving, you're not going to have chafing. If your pack is moving, I don't care what fabric it is. It could be freaking lubricated Teflon or whatever. You're still going to have chaffing. But now, one thing I will say is that it's important to realize there's a difference of you have to wash your pack. And so it's always
what?
So it's funny how many times like the winter ends and somebody bought our pack in, say, the end of the summer of last year. And then it's always the very like first month of summer when it's really hot that people are like, we'll get a handful of people like, hey, I really love your pack, but God, I've been getting chaffing lately. And I'll go through the normal troubleshooting steps, make sure they had it tightened and whatnot. But it ultimately comes down to, when's the last time you washed it? Well, I've never washed it. Well, does it feel like crusty on the back of it? And they're like, yeah, it does feel kind of crusty. I'm like, just wash it in your sink.
That's because there's like 10 pounds of salt impregnated in it.
Yeah. So you still have that. That's still an issue. If you're running shirtless, if there's, if you're bumping into pine trees, you have pine needles falling in there, and it's going to get between your back and your skin, or dust and dirt and rocks and sweat and salt, all those things can still cause chafing, whether you like it or not. where a shirt can be a decent buffer between that. But that being said, yeah, if you get your pack tight and if it doesn't move, you should be able to run without a shirt and be just fine.
Gotcha. Hey, Anna, do you have any ideas for equipment that you'd like to see? Not to put you on the spot here.
Yeah, sure.
But do you have any ideas?
Well, I don't have any ideas, but I will say that I carry a lot of things. I mean, you'd be horrified by how much I carry in my pack, my running pack. You know, at the end of a long day, this area right here is sore.
Sure.
Right. And I don't know
the collarbone
what the
area
solution is, but I mean, it doesn't happen unless I'm kind of out for over, let's just say 6 to 8 hours. Yeah. But I am curious, like, why is that? And what can I do to not have that problem?
Well, sometimes it can be if your pack is running a little bit too loose, you might be kind of overcorrecting with your form, and that's will end up getting that upper piece tight.
Interesting.
But some of it just may be that you're doing a static movement and you're running like this and your arms are sitting there, working your upper back and tightening up those muscles, and you might just need to go get a massage afterwards. And then that's the true solution. But maybe I need to put some electric massage balls in the upper back portion so you get a back massage where you're running.
I like that.
This is working.
I like that idea. Yeah, maybe that's the next deal, man. Electric massage backpack. You go for a run and get a massage at the same time and get some warm tea at the end. It would be great.
So, Josh, you may not know this, but I've actually come up with my own. I actually came up with my own design.
Oh yeah,
for a pack, yes, and
okay.
I've actually used it. So right now, as you're probably aware, one of the biggest things in running as far as improving overall performance is our cooling technologies, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, everything from ice vests to the big thing that you see like every single ultra runner for the most part using is the ice bandana, right? Mm-hmm. But what's the problem with the ice bandana? Would you say?
Doesn't hold enough ice, too much weight.
That could be. Yeah, that could be. And quite often for some people don't like it because it runs that trickle of water down your back. And yes, it keeps you cool, but it also maybe gives you a little bit more drip down your butt crack than you want,
Yeah. A little swamp butt.
Yes. So I came up with an idea to get around that. So the pack that I used at Notchview this year, where it was in the 90s during one of the days, was I took I basically built my own ice bandana that had a gym sock inserted into one end of it that you could fill, through one of the corners. You could throw the ice in there so that the ice wasn't directly against your skin and making that really painful, contact. So it gave it a little bit extra there. And that was my initial design, was that I could throw, basically fill this sock that was sewn into this triangle ice bandana. Mm-hmm. No problem with that. And that's not anything really. Other people have used, a chamois they've sewn in there and done other things like that. So
I just put ice in my backpack. Works pretty good. I guess it's like a sock.
That does. So here's the question. Here's the answer to this. If you don't want that much dripping on you, is to make 2 compartments back there.
Sure.
And one of them is I took my soft flask and I filled that full of ice, solid ice. And then I stuck that in my ice bandana. Okay. And then put an extension hose coming off of that, those extension hoses that people use for the front bottles. And then as you run, the ice keeps you cool around your neck. And then you can sip off of, you can use that as your regular water source, as cold water, which is wonderful to drink, right? Mm-hmm. And it's convenient because it's right there, and it's not, it's not going all over the place. It cools, and as soon as that's melted, then it's basically, you're able to get to most reasonable aid stations. And if you wanted to add a little bit of ice, if you wanted the drip, you could always throw that in in a separate like entrance in the thing. So
nice.
you can feel free to use that. You can just
upon that.
Name it after
name it the art.
Or,
the art.
Yeah.
Cultra. You can name it after Cultra.
The art cooler. Yeah. And so I built something similar but very different so it's called the arm cooler, and it's on our website. It's something I hardly ever market. I should, and people love them, but it's basically an arm cooler, but you have a pocket on your forearm and a pocket on your bicep. And same thing, if you take your palm right now, you put it on your bicep, you put it on your forearm, you feel how that heat, it just gets you real quick, right? But you've got all these exposed veins on the inside of your arms. So my thought was, if I put some pockets on an arm cooler, arm warmer, whatever you want to call it, then you could put ice in there and it would slowly drip out. You're not going to get swamp butt because it's just dripping down your hand.
Yes.
You can wipe your forehead. And then when it finishes, it's back to being dry again. It's just polyester. And I made some on a whim, 10 years ago. And I debuted them at the Leadville Trail Marathon. And I was just curious. I built it for me just because I knew it was going to be hot. And I thought, I'll see if this works. And man, people gobbled them all up. We sold all of them that we made, right there. We sold like 100 of them. It was crazy. And I thought, wow, this is cool. People actually like this. And so yeah, we've been making them ever since. And thought I had. Actually, I just had some here for some odd reason.
No, those are I've seen those out there.
Have you seen those?
Oh yeah, absolutely. That's a great. I think that's a great. Arm sleeves are a nice. I think that's a great way to go. So.
Yeah, well, and just having them pockets there was cool. And then you could put like sport beans in them, or your gels, or your phone even. And I mean, it was the pockets were the key. I mean, I know arm sleeves been around forever, but but it was one of them random things that I tried. I have tried different cooling mechanisms in the backpacks, and ultimately I just jam that sucker full of ice and I just roll with it if it's that hot. But I tell you what I've done over the years, I don't give myself ice water when I go train, which kind of makes me feel like a devil sometime. But I anytime it's in the summer, I often work out over lunch, in that middle of the day sometimes. And I just get tap water at, normal temperature. And in doing that, it's made me acclimatize much better for the heat. And it really has changed a lot, where I used to, gosh, it's like if it was marginally warm, it was hard to drink. But I think if you get the right hydration mix, and if you just practice with using a nominal temperature of water and just work on hydrating when it's even warm, you get used to it. And I think for me, it's changed things a lot. It's made me much more versatile without having to, like, middle of a race when it's really hot, like, God, I've got to get ice. Don't get me wrong. Occasionally I want that too, but not normally. I'm normally pretty rock solid anymore.
Gotcha. Yeah, I have a lot to go on that regard. I tend to be if it's a long race, I'm suffering and dehydrating all day and just trying to make it until the sun goes down until I can recover. I can't possibly replenish the fluids that I lose during the day. It just doesn't.
It's hard.
Yeah, doesn't happen for me. So,
but that's the fun of endurance sports. It's a science, and it's about how good can you get your electrolyte and caloric and of course fluid management. And if you can dial that in, you can go forever. I don't exercise as much as I used to, but I can still go do some pretty cool things. And it's just because I understand the science better now than I as I've just gotten better with it over the years. But I kind of look at that as the other challenge. I'm like, all right, I'm getting older. I don't train very much. So I'm always at kid stuff, but I can still go out and throw down. If I need to go run 100 miles tomorrow, I probably could. If I want to go ride my bike 200 miles, I probably can. So it may not be very fast, but I can get there.
Yes. That's a good feeling, is to have the have the ability to just kind of do that on a whim. So definitely.
Yeah. That's what I find fascinating about getting older, is that even though I don't spend as much time training, I'm not really much slower. And that just blows me away.
How old are you now, Josh?
48.
Yeah, see, you're not old.
Well, I'm not old per se.
I'm just like, at 48, fuck, I was killing it at 48.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying I'm old, but I'm saying I've been racing since I was 22.
Okay.
And I mean, I've done over 500 endurance races.
Yeah.
And when it comes to, like, I've ran up to 100, I biked up to 700, over 700 miles. I've done numerous, races from, short to, multi-days up to 92 hours, the longest ever. And I just find it ironic that of all the time I've hired coaches and all this stuff and, pushed to be optimal, I'm really not that much different. I find it fascinating. I think we all have, I love cycling, but I'm never going to be a Lance Armstrong. And it's just not in my wheelhouse. I don't believe any coach could get me to be a Lance Armstrong. And I think that's like, the more I look at a lot of the athletes I've known over the years, we all, like, if you're truly the best of the best, you were probably the best of the best to begin with. Maybe you were in the infancy, like in school, you didn't know. Like with my son running a 5:27 last week, they thought he was going to get like 7th or 8th place in the mile because he trains actually with it's only him and a buddy train in the mornings. The rest of the kids in track train after school. He didn't know what he was capable of because he's just running with his buddy before school. And he had never ran faster than a 6:04 mile. But all of a sudden he goes out there and he runs a 5:27. And he's like, yeah, I beat everybody. This was awesome. But he didn't even know what he was capable of. Like for me, I know I'm not capable of that. And I never will be. So, but I think that's what's neat. We all have these finite limits that can be marginally increased. Or finite windows, I should say. I think there's a marginal increase. And I just find it amazing, that I've even been running with my son. I saw a look in his eyes when, his old man, that he can run almost twice as fast as me, but yet, we're 3 hours in. I'm like, you want me to carry your backpack, buddy? You look like you're having a hard time. And it was cool, and we're on the kayak and he's having a hard time. Like, that's all right, man. I'll tie this rope on and I'll pull you across this lake for a couple hours. It'll be fine. And, it's something that I think the human body is one of the most fascinating things in this world. I think we don't talk about it enough. We don't talk about how impressive it is that we can take our, ball of meat and go just do these crazy, stupid things. I just find it fascinating.
Yeah, it is. Certainly, it's been said before, we're all capable of so much more than we think we are. So,
yeah.
Do you have particular, hopes and dreams for the future with your athletic life? Is it just continuation of what you're doing, or do you have something in mind, like, one day I'm going to do that other thing,
Oh yeah. I'm one that only looks forward. I don't ever look back. And the only thing that if I was to look backwards in a way, the only thing that ever bums me out is that I don't have enough years left to do everything that I want to do. And like before I had kids, man, I traveled the world and I did a lot of cool stuff. I lived more by the time I was 30 than most people do ever in a lifetime. But that doesn't satisfy me at all. So, athletically, I don't care to race as much anymore. I think COVID in a way did me a favor. It got me out of the rhythm of feeling that I have to race. It's not that I don't like to. Like I said, I'm doing a 24-hour next month. I just did a 12, and I love to suffer. I love to push the limits of human endurance and prove that I'm still tough as nails. But at the same time, it's something that my pursuits are more about the adventure. And I especially now that my kids are getting to an age that they can do this stuff with me, I want to do more mountain bike races. Or more mountain bike adventures. Like I'm taking my son on the White Rim Trail, 100-mile mountain bike trail in first week of June. And I want to do adventures like that. I want to, as they get a little bit older, travel around the world more and do more, big bike events and big run events. Maybe break up the AT into, maybe 3 different trips and go bang out as much as we can over, given week or 2-3 weeks, however we do it. But yeah, to me, it's still about adventure, but I'm not looking to push the limits of speed, and everything is definitely oriented towards dirt and hardly anything pavement. And then the other piece is I bought an adventure bike last year. It's a TW200 Yamaha, and I only want it for dirt, and I want to do you know, 500,000 mile endurance events on it, which it's not as much physical, but it's different because you get to experience what's around you. And it's what I like about gravel biking, is, you know, when I'm trail running, I'm often just trying not to fall on my face. But when I'm gravel biking, I experience nature and I'm constantly looking around and I appreciate all the things that are there. And that's where I'm excited about this adventure bike, to kind of do both things at the same time. So, so yeah, it's all really culminating around just continuing to do things longer and longer, and there's still be some racing, if you will, but you know, they're big adventure bike things where I'd like to race the Arizona Trail on my mountain bike, and it's you know, probably a 3 or 4 day event, I guess. I'm not even sure how far it is, but I'd like to ride my bike on the not Tour Divide. I would like to do that, but I'd like to ride from Texas to Canada, whatever they're called, their Great Midwestern Route or whatever. It's 3,000 miles. But again, I don't know that I can find time for that. Not until my kids are out of school. Hence why I bought the motorcycle, because I thought I could probably do that in like 5 days on a motorcycle. And so yeah, it's everything endurance, everything dirt, and probably not as much racing, but a lot about exploring.
You should come out and do the Erie Canal Trail.
Oh yeah,
that would be something. Yes, my wife and I did that in 2020.
Yeah,
so
check that out.
That's a good one. So
Erie Canal Trail.
That's my one of my claims to fame here. So
yeah, all right,
Erie Canal Trail. So just ask me, I'll tell you all about it. So
perfect.
Great. So tell us a little bit about red clay. Excuse me. Yeah, red clay.
Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah.
We started it. I actually started it to hurt people. Specifically other businesses. So with our transition wrap, we customize them for stores and retail stores and clubs. And I just got sick about sourcing and battling vendors to do a good job. And I just hit my breaking point one day where I didn't understand why it was so hard to embroider a basic logo. And it really happened when we moved to Texas. I couldn't find hardly anybody that would take the work, and I was outsourcing $250,000 a year of embroidery. You know, it's not like I was some small fish. If somebody came to me right now to give away $250,000 a year, I would start a business. If you came to me and you're like, hey, I need $250,000 of outsourcing to clean porta toilets, I'd be like, you know what, I'll probably start a business for that. That's worth it. But I had a hard time even finding vendors. And we were only here for 3 months, and then out of spite, I went and bought a $80,000. It started with a $58,000 machine, led to an $80,000 machine, and then now I have 3 of those, and then a whole bunch more equipment. But we started it to do just a better job and put that same relentless focus of quality that we do with Orange Mud into custom apparel, and so it started with our own product, but then it quickly grew into trail races and cycling races and making patches and custom caps and merch. And then it took into t-shirts, and then we had to buy lasers to support patches. And so now we have all kinds of equipment. And so it's funny. I spent all my years in, CNC machining and medical devices and defense stuff. And then now we're, running all kinds of the same machine. I basically have a machine shop, but it's all for soft goods and apparel. So it's been a lot of fun. We have a really, how it's made type of shop, and we always welcome people to come in and just tour it, to check it out. It's just neat to see how all these different things are made. So yeah, it's fun.
That's an interesting thing. I was a machinist for a couple years right out of in high school. I worked half a day, industrial education, and worked in a machine shop. And, of course they didn't have CNCs back then so much.
Sure.
But actually my son works for the Morris Group now. I don't know if you know who they are, with selling CNC machines.
Sure.
So it's manufacturing is it's very interesting, especially now. There's so much so much going on with it.
Yeah. No, it was an amazing space to be in. I mean, I learned how to make, God, you name it. I mean, we made all kinds of crazy things. And when you're working with the tolerances in the CNC machining world, most people know it's a painful industry. You're constantly struggling to achieve tolerances that are pretty much on the limits of human capability. But it made you always push to be better. And I think that's where we've kind of taken that same approach to, systems, and we have SOPs for all the different aspects of our business. And that's helped to systematize how we approach things, make sure we're all coming at it from the same angle. And yeah, it's a lot of fun. I like it because I already had a bunch of sewing machines for Orange Mud. So now I have a whole bunch more sewing machines for Seven Clay. So we actually sew leather patches to hats. We sew woven and PVC, all these different things. And we make all kinds of different custom cut and sew projects for people just because I had the equipment anyway. And so it's great because now I have 2 full-time seamstresses to work for me. And so I don't have to be the prototype guy either anymore. So I can just design it in Illustrator and then go to my seamstress. I'm like, hey, y'all mind making this for me? And they'll do probably a better job than me anyway, because they're going to approach it from a manufacturing angle, or they're going to approach it from how I laid it out. And I'm going to see what went wrong with that. That was translated from my brain to theirs. And so it helps to organize how we improve upon how we're building prototypes even before it goes to the factory. But yeah, it's been an awesome journey, and Seven Clay is actually bigger than Orange Mud now, and surpassed it last year in 2024. And I don't think Orange Mud will ever catch it. It's just it's a big demand. There's of course a lot of just cheap people out there, but I always tell people, like, hey, you want cheap? Go find whoever, on the web. But if you want to actually have a good quality product, I make no exceptions with what we do. And so we work with tons of other businesses that are just like us that don't do a good job internally, so they outsource to us. And then of course we work with tons of brands, and our own Orange Mud base has been great. We work with tons of race directors with making, you name it, medals and t-shirts and caps and everything.
So it's interesting. I was just thinking about that mindset, as somebody in manufacturing. Part of that is like figuring out the different steps it takes to do something, envisioning something happening, saying, how can I do that? How could I approach this in a different way? Yeah. And it's so similar to endurance, endurance activities.
Yeah.
Whether it's high mountain adventure or adventure racing or, any of these things where you're faced with a problem and you have to figure out what are you going to do to make, how are you going to do this,
Exactly.
And nobody else is coming for you.
Yeah. And we did that in the beginning. It was a lot of Facebook, joining. I'm part of a million different Facebook groups and YouTube and everything. And man, there was so many pieces of learning. I hit limits at times where I'm like, I can't buy any more equipment. I can't learn anymore. I'm just done. Because we hit points where my shop's like, hey, Josh, we need X, whatever it is. I'm like, no, because I don't have the ability to learn anymore right now. I need to just season what we have, because gosh, it's a lot of it is not rocket science, but there's a lot to be perfect at it. And there's so much bad information out there. It's one of the coolest parts of the internet is you can get a million different feedbacks, right? You can go in there and say, hey, I'm having this problem on this type of whatever. And then you can find a trillion solutions, but there's a lot of bad solutions out there. Yeah. And a lot of them I bid on. A lot of them over the years, I'm like, oh yeah, we got to do this. And then you come find it out, like, that is all hocus pocus. Whoever did that was probably, I don't know what these people are thinking, but we've refined it, and man, we freaking beat that drum over and over. We learned the hard way, but again, we document it. We have the processes are what save you, and there's just so many pieces of business and even your own life. I think if you just write down, if you define the problem, you can solve it and document it. And
I think that's the big thing is most people, in order to address issues, don't recognize that they have a problem.
Right.
I mean, that's happened to me a million times, like where you're just struggling with something and it's like, why is this so damn hard? And it's like, oh, you know what, Art, if you weren't trying to use a socket set from the 1970s that was made in China that you've had your whole life, like you're a grown ass adult, like go and buy a real socket set, and just like that would just make it would just better. Oh my God. It's just like, it's like night and day if you do but you have to recognize that you have a problem,
Yep.
and whether it's with that or whether it's like a personal problem, like, oh shit, all of a sudden you have an awakening and you say, oh my God, do I need 30 pairs of running shoes that are not all like some that I don't even wear? So I can't find the ones I want to wear, you have to, I don't know, you have to realize and I don't know, figure it out.
Yeah, define the problem. I think it's one of the coolest parts of AI. AI is amazing. I use the heck out of it. But what I have found is you have to define the problem to ask the right question. And like my wife and kids, anytime they know if they complain about something to me, I'm like, well, what's the problem? I mean, I don't understand what you're complaining about because you don't seem to have the problem clearly defined. and it's always me being a smart ass, but at the same time, it's the truth. If you can solve anything if you define the problem. Think of how many times, like how many of us have complained about, oh gosh, I hate that overseas tech support. They suck. Well, maybe it's not always them, because maybe sometimes yes, but maybe it's because we often approach the problem sloppily and we expect somebody to read our minds. And so
wow, in everything, right? In relationships, in
everything,
you name it, right? That's gosh,
everything. Define the problem.
Yeah,
and you have the world's your oyster if you do it.
Yeah,
that's half the dang battle.
You got to take
the battle.
You got to take the fourth step. So take your inventory.
Exactly.
Awesome.
Yep.
Can I ask an unrelated question?
Yeah, sure.
Just because I can tell that, I don't know how much more time we have, but I'm curious about, you mentioned like connecting with race directors with Orange Mud, and you mentioned ambassadors before, and I'm just kind of curious, and you mentioned a podcast before. I'm just wondering kind of how far Orange Mud reaches, and like what does Orange Mud do besides make the things and sell them?
Sure. Yeah, and well, in terms of obviously we make and sell things, but then in terms of the, I guess, the organic or grassroots side, the grassroots side has been, the ambassador team has been a major foundation of our domestic and international growth, since the beginning. It's changed over the years just because that, I think that the ambassadorship as a thing, it's just not as popular as it used to be. I think we were all looking for a tribe in the beginning, and that's one of the neat parts of Facebook, is that it allowed us to build a tribe, but then the tribe got pretty crazy because you went from having 12 friends and 50 friends to like 5 trillion friends on Facebook. So now you're not really connected with anybody because you're connected with everybody. So, but in the beginning, I can't say enough good things about the ambassador team because they really helped to shape everything. They helped to shape the product development. They helped to shape my integration into retail and educating other consumers about how our packs fit and how they work, why they're different. And then, in terms of races, we used to attend countless races, and I'm a little jaded and proud of it at the same time, because the big brands never show up. Best case scenario, they might give you a gift card or something. Big brands never show up.
Correct.
But yet everybody expects us small brands, and I still get them all the time, right? And this time of year, we're like, hey, come sponsor my race. And I'm like, what are you gonna do for me? I'm like, I am not bleeding cash, in a positive way. And so we have and we still do support, tons of races, and mostly smaller races. And because we get it, right? We're a grind. We're one of the very few businesses in our categories that it's owned by my wife and I. Most every business is a big VC company. There's hardly any that are independently owned, family owned, and like we don't have investors. I mean, it's just my wife and I.
Yeah.
So we out of our direct connection to race directors and athletes over the years, we've just, like I said, sponsored and activated at tons of events, and it's been very important from a grassroots perspective and humanizing the brand. And that's always been a big piece of. I mean, it's why I like podcasts. I want people to understand, like, we're not just a machine, right? I don't exist unless you guys are passionate about supporting a brand and then you like it, of course. I mean, that's number one. Do you like the product? Because if it sucks, tell me. I mean, I'm a very easy guy to get a hold of. There's no reason anybody should have to be like, I couldn't get a hold of Orange Mud. My wife answers the phone. Like, you can call. My wife answers the phone every day. Trust me. She doesn't necessarily like it because we get a billion crackheads trying to sell us some, loan or something on it. I mean, we get all kinds of freaking, maybe not crackheads, but we get a bunch of
maybe they are crackheads,
scammers,
though, right?
Yeah, maybe they are.
Crackheads.
Who knows? But it's still very much a small business, and again, we want to grow by being at the grassroots, at the heart of things. So. They've helped for sure, but it's always been a tough one to get an ROI. It's not like in most cases when we give away a product at a race, we are not making any money back. We may make a small percentage of the investment we get back. And again, I'm not always looking for that, but I have to when you sponsor hundreds of races. And we're only so big, you got to at least find a balance. So we have cut back on it over the years just because I can only be so generous. And again, no one ever really cares. I'll see the same people like, hey, you sponsor my race, and they're wearing a $25 pack from China. I'm like, really? I would have literally given you a free pack.
your ambassadors, I have to say, or I don't know what the relationship was, but I remember several races I've been to where you see somebody and they have like, and I might exaggerate just a little bit here, but they would have like Orange Mud socks, and then they'd have like Orange Mud shorts, and they'd have the kit, the top singlet, and then they'd have the pack and a hat and gloves, and like they were like tattoos and everything from head to toe Orange Mud. And it was just like striking. Like you couldn't like, it was like, hey, did you see that Orange Mud guy? Because they were like, or sometimes it was even a couple would run. And both all tricked out in full kits, and it was like I was like, "Oh my gosh, what is this?"
We've had a passionate audience, and like I said, I think some of it is because we have gone to so many events. We've had, aside from me personally going to events, we've had some incredible people on my team that have gone to a lot of these events too over the years and activated. And again, I think people end up building a much stronger relationship as a result when you meet people in person. And everybody that's ever worked with me or for me over the years, it's something that we all are passionate about the brand. Like I said, if for anybody that wants to go out and build a hydration pack, I'd encourage you, go ahead. You won't be getting rich. I promise you that.
Josh, I did.
That's what I'm saying. It's a tough business. It's like I end up, every year in like January to March, I always end up having to wire off somewhere between $100,000 and $1 million for inventory. It just depends where the inventory goes every year. And it's a brutal industry to be able to manage inventory. When you build high MOQs, 1,000, 1,500 piece MOQs, you're building these things from overseas, and again, quality products. It's very inventory intensive, so it's a passion. It really is a passion-based business. And I think, that's the number one thing I'll say about growing a business like this. It's if your heart wasn't in it, you wouldn't do it. Let me put it that way.
Yeah. I'm glad you're talking about this, because the more, I feel like over time I've become invested in certain products that I just, really like. And to know that there are people behind it instead of, like you say, a VC, who knows who, it just makes a difference. It makes you more attached and like appreciate the thing more that you love anyway. Sure. But it's good to learn about sort of the people, the small group of people behind the product.
Yeah. No, it's an animal, but it's a wild one. It's kind of like my dog. I'm somewhat in control of, somewhat, not always.
Very
probably right by my feet.
Oh yeah. Oh my gosh, dog. We gotta see the dog. Yeah.
River,
I don't know if that's possible, but
River, come here. Come here. This is little River. She's a little fluff ball. She sits here with me all day long.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Very good.
What's up, bud?
Yeah, she's really cute. Wow.
She's awesome. Yeah, she's my little buddy. She can run pretty dang good too. I took her out an 8-mile run there. As furthest she's been. She's awesome. not for a 20-pound dog. You would think she'd go forever, but she gets fatigued, or she just gets bored.
She's
I'm not
all
sure.
fast twitch. So.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, she is. She's quick when she wants to be.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Josh, is there anything that we didn't cover tonight that you think we should have?
No, I think we covered a wide range tonight. I can't say we covered new topics tonight I've even never talked on. So that's kind of fun. Yeah.
Excellent.
I'm an open book, so I'm always open for whatever. So yeah, it's always a good time.
There you go. I have to ask our counsel here. Anna, any closing arguments?
I don't know. I really found this so engaging, and I'm so intrigued by, adventure racing. I've got to try the bell. I feel like I got all this new stuff I want to try, and I'm so excited. So
Perfect.
Thank you for thinking of it all. And I hope, you'll come out east and you'll try something, or
I need to.
Maybe we'll see. Maybe we'll see you here.
There's early June is the Cut 112. So, for anybody who hasn't signed up, there's still a couple spots left there. Yeah, you can run across the state of Connecticut, from the Massachusetts border, and you finish at the Long Island Sound.
You know what? And you'll be at an advantage, right? Because it'll be hot and you're really well heat trained.
Yeah.
There you go.
Saying.
Yeah. Right? It'll be easy, basically.
I
think is what Anna's saying.
Yeah, right. We don't have as much humidity, though.
We have trees, Josh. We have lots of trees.
Yeah, it'll be totally like almost all in the shade. So
that part, that you can reel me in on. Yeah,
that's right. The snake's got to live somewhere, right?
Yeah, so, man, no kidding. I tell you, that's the only downside down here. You got to watch for the friggin' rattlers. This time of year, it's like, oh man, they come out, they're angry. They've been not moving much all winter, and we didn't see any when we went out this weekend, which was shocking given how hot it was. But man, our trails around here, you got to keep a sharp eye. That's
we don't have too many rattlers. I think I've only bumped into them twice out there. The timber, there are some in Glastonbury actually, but in the belly of the Beast Coast here. But overall there's not they're not something you run across every day. Certainly copperheads, sure, that's you're much more likely for that, and they can be nastier too. So
I see probably 20 or 30 rattlers a year, I'd say. There's
oh wow, yeah,
all too many. But I haven't got bit yet. I got bit in the shoe, but I had my mountain bike shoes and he couldn't bite through them, which was good. But man, I feel like it's just inevitable at this point. It's going to happen at some point. I've defied odds way too long. I'm just rolling with it, but I hope I don't.
Yeah, that's why my brother loves Colorado.
Yeah,
because he's at altitude and he says, I don't have to worry about snakes here.
So. I know that part is nice. And even mosquitoes, they're friggin' terrible. When it's dry like it is, we haven't had a mosquito yet, but man, we have a lot of rain coming these next couple of weeks, and with warm weather, the mosquitoes are going to be out and they can carry you away sometimes. And that part I don't enjoy.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Josh, I want to really thank you so much for, sharing all about adventure racing and about, your personal life and about some of the great companies that you've built and the products that you've put out there that are different than the norm. They're not just the run of the mill products by any stretch. So
sure, we try.
Very good. And for all of our listeners out there, if you've made it this far, of course, seek professional help. And we will see you all in a mile
and a half.
All right. All right.
I love your intro and outro on this.
Thank you.
Those are good.
Yeah.
Fun.
Very dramatic.
My son,
it's very exciting.
My son made those. He's a musician. My son, Nick,
Oh,
and
cool.
that's his voice in the beginning, and he did, I told him basically about what I wanted to say, but he figured out the whole, how to voice it. He's actually a voice actor, so he does all that kind of stuff.
Oh, cool.
So he's
Heck
kind
yeah.
of moved into that. He went out of sales and moved into that full time now. So
nice.
I've had a metal band for a while, so I play some of his music every once in a while for that.
That's cool.
Mm-hmm.
So, I tell you, that has been my new jam for the past be about a year and a half now. I started playing the guitar.
Oh, really? Okay. Yeah.
Man, I tell you what, it's brought me a lot of calm. And because I've always been a guy, I can work forever. But at the same time, it started in September 2 years ago. I started playing. I've owned this acoustic guitar for since I was 22 or something like that. And I just hauled it all around and magically never broke it. But I had some time. I built a cabin on my ranch and I was up there by myself in September a couple years ago and just goofing off. And I was like, man, it's a beautiful night. I'm gonna sit here on the porch and play this guitar. And I started and I downloaded the Gibson app and I learned how to play from it. And I played awesome. Almost every single day since September of 24. And now I can sing hundreds of songs and country, guitar, rock, and whatever, Foo Fighters and whatever. And I tell you what, it's brought me so much peace because I'll find that I'll just stop in the evenings. I'm like, all right, I'll go play the guitar. Like it's a great way to calm down. I think it's why I've got such a low resting heart rate because I play the guitar at night, Yeah, I mean, you can't own three businesses and have two crazy ass children and sports 6 days a week and not run a little high blood pressure, but I don't, I think it's acoustic guitar. So
amazing. Wow. Yeah.
How far... Anna's a musician as well.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, I grew up. I mean, I have a classical background personally, but I also am like a very avid live music fan, and I listen to a really wide range of music, and I see a lot of concerts. But I was going to say, how far are you from Austin? Are you
35 minutes?
Yeah, so you got like the world is your oyster. I mean, you have a lot of my brother lives in Austin, so I've been there, and it's pretty awesome for music. So
there's awesome music down there. We'll be out checking it out on Saturday night for my sister's birthday, and
fun.
And yeah, I mean, I tell you what, it's so cool. Like seeing live music is awesome, and it's totally different when you actually play. And that's changed everything for me. Now that I play an acoustic guitar. When we went down on 6th Street, a month and a half ago, my mom was in town and we partied until the bars closed. And we went to, I think, 6 different live.
Wait, your mom
events.
Also was part of this?
Oh yeah, she's nuts. Yeah, my mom's stepdad is nuts. Yeah. It used to be, I used to have to tell them like, look, I'm out. And I'm the type of guy I can go all freaking night, but I'd even hit points with them where I'm like, man, y'all need to go to bed. But they do, they're wild. But they went out and I tell you what, it was so neat. We were at some like a blues reggae type of live band, and it was so cool where you see these guys where, I mean, I know I will probably never get there, but it's fascinating to see and trying to think, how in the heck are they doing that? How can I'm fascinated. As much as I'm better than an everyday hack, but I still suck. I'm like, I'm not very good. But yet, I look at what these people do and it's like, that's like, it's like an alien. I don't even know how it's possible.
Yeah.
Well, it's like the 10,000 hours. I mean,
right.
To become many hours.
I think it's a mix of 10,000 hours, and it's like Lance Armstrong having 10,000 hours and being one of the best cyclists in the world.
Yes.
Versus me having 10,000 hours and I'll still be a really shitty cyclist compared to Lance Armstrong. I think that's where my limits are. I realize, like, I don't know if I have enough brain power to do what they do, or maybe I'm not high enough. Maybe that's it. And, because that's sometimes when I watch these guys, I'm thinking, maybe they're just on an insane amount of drugs and their brains have slowed down. But, my brain never slows down. So I don't know.
I think here's my take on it, because I've played guitar since 15 or 16 years old.
Yeah.
And, my son, I bought him a Fender knockoff when he was 8, And within a year and a half or so, he could play Black Dog from Zeppelin.
Oh, no way.
The opening, and he could do that, and and he'd play Freebird. But when he played that, like I hear like the big chords, like dun 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 dun. He hears dun 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 dun. He just like he experiences it in 3D, and I'm looking at it in crayon. Yeah, and it's like I just, and it doesn't mean. I mean, I always enjoyed it. I enjoyed playing, but it's not my thing. It's not, I mean, it's my thing enough, but it's not my thing. Like it's his thing. He just experience it. It's like a different experience for him.
Yeah. No, I think it's just that artsy side. I'm a more mathematician versus the artist. And I think that's where those people are, right?
I think they're linked though. I think mathematicians, excuse me, mathematicians and musicians are, right there.
It's kind of amazing though that you've been playing every single day. I mean, I play, but I'm very impressed that you do it. Well, even if you miss the day, I mean, almost every day is.
I do. It's almost every
awesome.
day. Yeah, like on a weekend, sometimes I may play for 2 or 3 hours, but sometimes at night it's 5 minutes, 10 minutes. Even if I'm real tired, I'll just lay there in bed and I'll just do some basic, finger picking drills and just try to go over that. And then sometimes I just make up my own notes that I don't know what they are.
That's the next business is making songs.
Guitar cases.
So I've been fooling around with Suno. I don't know if you've seen that. It's a music program. So but it uses AI for creating music.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Suno, so I mean, but you can have a lot of input in it, but I don't know. It's been fun. It's been interesting to use. So
AI for music creators. I'll pull this up and mess around, see if I can get all smart on this thing.
Yeah, it's from that, you might really like it. Some of it's pretty cool. It's scary, and I get that it's like, I don't know. It's like smoking crack. Okay. I get it.
Well, I know.
Because Anna's I was understating Anna. So Anna's a classically trained, like you play in an orchestra,
and piano, and sing a little bit. But I was very serious, through college and stuff. But I will say, like, the people. But I really like a lot of rock music too. But the people, some very intense music heads that I know, like, really do not like that. There's like AI like bands on Spotify that are completely made up.
Oh yeah.
But I find it fascinating at the same time. It's like, how's it really different if you can be? Maybe I don't have the talent to do something amazing, but if I could direct it and make something amazing with AI, why is that wrong? Right?
It is. Yeah. I mean, if you think about it, you put your voice into an amplifier, right?
Yeah.
Or you put a guitar through distortion. Yeah. And that distorts it, and you tell it what to do, but it's still, in some sense, it's a tool that you're using.
Right. Yeah. But if you're going to write a book in a typewriter versus a computer, does that make the computer person, are you cheating?
It could be that, like, I'm so invested in seeing live music that obviously I'm never going to see the pretend band made up by Spotify. Like, there's no connection there. And I kind of like the knowing who the person is and knowing about them and all that kind of stuff. So maybe that, for me, that's like the block that I have about the AI generated Spotify bands.
I could definitely understand why. I mean, sometimes, like, you look at some of the AI images and it just creeps you out, right? Yeah. I mean, it just gives you that uneasy feeling. The music can do that too, but it also can, like, really inspire you and surprise the shit out of you, because, like, you can feed it a mood, like, really work on how the description that you're giving it, and it'll come out with something, and and sometimes you're just like, oh my God, that's exactly. Actually, so right after this episode, I'll play, and I've tagged it at the end of the podcast. I'll play our 112 song that I designed on that for the Cut 112, and it's I spent a lot of time with the description, and just working on it. I could have gone to the paid version and done a lot more, but it was just it was fun to do. And by the time it was done, I was like, wow, this is kind of cool. So
yeah. Well, heck yeah. I'll look it up. So, one more task.
It's something that, I don't know. I love the idea that you're doing shit that you don't know anything about. Like,
oh yeah.
I was taking pictures of the moon the other night. I just got I got a deep space telescope. So,
nice.
and just trying to figure that out. Although that seems to be much simpler to use on a basic level than some of the other stuff.
Maybe. So. I don't know. It's a lot of plotting.
It is.
Huge thanks for tuning in. Remember, Cultra is 100% listener supported through Patreon. No